Hey all, it's Rach here, and I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. We will be dark, but I'll be back with new episodes right after the new year. Happy holidays, everybody. Cheers to 2025. Fingers crossed, it's going to be a good one. Hi, everyone. I'm Rachel Ray, and this is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. This is a podcast about drive, what fuels people that love hard work, and what we can learn from one another. I'm excited for everyone to join me for conversations with people I know and people I want to know better. Welcome to I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Today, I have a guest that I absolutely love and I've known for, I was on daytime shows for 17 years. This person was on our show for 16 of those 17 years. He's written, I'm not joking, multiple, like dozens. I think he's written as many books as I have. I don't know. I have to ask him which one of us has more. But this man has written books on fitness, health, and diet for decades that are literally bestsellers. And not only that, he's an actual doctor. And not only that, he writes novels. Right now, he's working on a romance. He's already written mysteries. He is my dear friend for many, many years. Please welcome Dr. Ian Smith. Hi, Ian.
Hey, Rach. Good to see you and be with you as always.
I'm freaking him out and I'm embarrassing him because he's a very quiet, casual man off camera. But he's here at our house. We are together in Tuscany. Ian, you know, I've been begging you to come here for a long time.
You have?
I'm extremely excited about your latest project now because Eat Your Age is organized in such an unusual and incredible way to me. I love when people make their work product digestible. It's what I try and do with my work, but it's what you've done with this particular project. Can you explain to everybody how you're trying to explain Eat Your Age in the simplest way possible? Like, make it as small as you can, because it's huge. It's a big deal, but try and make it straight.
Let me first say that I'm so happy that we are still together after all these years. I've always said to my real wife that you're my work wife. Because we've been doing so much together. And so I want to thank you for our great friendship. We're family. It's not even friendship. We're family. So thank you so much. And for your team that's always been so great to me over the years. Let me tell you how this book really started. And you, Rach, you can relate to this having so many books. And by the way, yes, you have more books than I do. This is my 28th book, and you're 30 plus. But I had this idea for this book, and I felt as though people should understand that as they age, the needs of their body changes. When you're in your 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s plus, your needs change. It's just how the body is. The body changes, your needs change. And we should answer the changing needs by how we eat, how we fuel our body. You know more than anybody, Rach, how important food is to our bodies. I went to my publisher many years ago and I had this concept. And my publisher said to me, this book is not going to sell. We don't want to do this book. And I said to her, what are you talking about? This is critical information. Everyone, if they're lucky enough, gets older. So it applies to everyone from 30s plus. Anyway, they wouldn't do the book. But I didn't give up, Rach, as you know. And I said, I'm going to one day make this book happen. And so this book really is important to me because it breaks down for every decade of your life. What are your top nutrients you need to be eating? What are the diseases that are more prevalent you need to be careful of? What exercises actually work best for you given your age? What fitness tests should you be able to accomplish? So all of that with a 30-day meal plan at the end of each decade. So I break it up into 30s plus, 40s, 50s, 60s. At the end of every decade, I give you a 30-day meal plan that incorporates the top 10 nutrients that are in your particular decade. And that is really the premise of Eat Your Age.
And this is what's so fascinating to me is that you made this so easy to understand. You know, lots of times we hear science or people on TV say you should do this and you should do that. But this is specific and it's broken down into a regiment for the decades of your life. And so it's fascinating to see something that's so simple to follow that changes with every decade of your life. That's what I love about this. It's digestible and smart. Here's the science-based proof of what might happen in this time of your life. And it's not bossing, it's advising. You might want to try and eat more of this and less of that. So let's talk about that. Do you find it more or less difficult today than 20 years ago in your life to talk to people about their health, doctor?
I actually am very optimistic by nature. And I have found when I first started this a long time ago, that is trying to talk to America about how to take better care of their bodies. I have found it much easier now because of, believe it or not, the internet and social media. I really think that even though there are a lot of negative things about those particular technologies, the beauty of it is that good news can travel fast. And I think that there are a lot of good things happening. I'm able to reach people much easier now. I don't have to wait to get on a show to talk to people. I can go on my social media. So I think it's easier to talk to people about their health. Here's the other part of it. I think people have heard the message for so long that people do want to live better and they want to live longer. I mean, who doesn't want to live to a good old age where you can enjoy the most you can in life and see your grandkids graduate from high school and if, in college, if you're lucky, go to their weddings. So I think that the message is coming across and being received much easier. But I still think, Rach, that there are hurdles for us. And the hurdles are trying to get people not just to listen to the message, but then to execute on the message. I think that's where we are. Everyone kind of knows the good stuff. Now the question is, how do you activate them? How do you get them to do something?
Let's talk about that. How late is too late to change your life? Never? Can you do it any day? If you're 60, can you still change your life? If you have bad diagnoses, multiple, can you still make a change? Dr. Ian.
Rach, that is not a fair question to me because you are talking to one of the most optimistic people you ever meet. I never believe that it is too late for change. Ever, ever, ever. I believe that people at all ages, and I have personally experienced it in my family and people who follow me, who I help, it is never too late to change. The issue, I think, is getting people to understand that it's not always the most dramatic of changes that are necessary. Sometimes just having incremental changes, making small changes. I always say small changes yield big results. If people could buy into the idea that, well, you know what, maybe I will eat less fried food. Just a little bit. Maybe I will eat a little more green food. If you can get people to make small adjustments, I think people are more open to it. It's easier for them to execute. And like myself, I'll give a personal testimonial. I love steak, Rach. You know I love steak. You know I love barbecue ribeye. Right?
And I know you love barbecue sauce on steak.
I do.
And I know you always hated water.
Yes.
Hated water.
Yes, yes.
I beat you up about the water.
You did, constantly. Archives show that, by the way. But here's what I did. I was researching a book about one of my books called Plant Power, which is how to eat more plant-based. Not become vegan or vegetarian, which is fine if you want, but how do you become more plant-based without giving up meat altogether? And as I'm doing my research, I realized all of the positive things that could happen for me if I reduced the amount of red meat that I ate. I was really nervous. I didn't think I could do it because I love red meat so much, whether it's burger or steak. I just love it.
And what you could do for the planet too, let me just point that out.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that basically cow farts are killing the ozone, right? I didn't realize it, right? Methane.
Well, he said it differently than I did, but yes, that's true.
I decided to make a change. And I decided that every week I would reduce my red meat intake by about 10%. 6 months later, I was eating red meat maybe once every few months. When I first started, however, I never thought I could do that. I thought I had cravings. I thought I wouldn't get enough protein. Just the opposite. I feel clearer in my head. I don't feel like my stomach has a bowling ball sitting in it. I have more energy. So that's just a personal testimonial to answer the question of whether it's too late to change and how do you activate people. It's never too late. And I think you activate people by taking small changes.
And you have to activate and then look at the small increments. You don't have to change your life completely from Monday to Tuesday. You just think about things in moderation, maybe. That's what we're talking about.
One of your favorite things I love recalling about the daytime show was you said, you would always say at most of my segments, Dr. Ian, almost anything in moderation. And it's true. Like, my job is not to take the fun out of life. I don't want you to eat perfectly, drink perfectly, exercise perfectly. I don't like the word perfect when it comes to life. I want you to do better on balance, meaning most of what you do is better for you. But if you want to indulge, imbibe, by all means, it's life. life. Like, you got to live life, right? And so I think when I wrote Eat Your Age, I wrote this book because I'll tell you what one of the biggest inspirations for me was, by the way. I was getting off of a plane and an older white lady and her race is important, I'll explain in a minute. Older white lady was getting off the plane. She was struggling to take her luggage out of the overhead. Then she was walking up the jet bridge. She was hunched over. She was struggling. And the rollie was very tiny, by the way. She was struggling. And I couldn't help but say to myself, this lady is probably no older than 60. But her appearance and her functionality was like she was 80. And I said to myself, this woman would benefit from eating more calcium because white older women tend to have thinner bones.
My mother.
Yes. So she needs more calcium in her diet. She needs more protein. She needs to have fiber, but also she needs to lift weights. She needs resistance training.
I love that you brought this up. This is one of the greatest things I've ever learned from Ian. And I was just discussing it with Ian and my husband. I think this is really important, Ian. Not only is this book in stages of your life and what you should eat, but Ian has a very specific idea about what you should do to improve your strength as you grow older. And it's not what you would think. It's not cardio, gajillion hours on the doodad or the thing. It's building muscle, correct, Ian?
100%. When I was working in the hospital, I'll never forget this. I worked in physical rehab. And of all the patients, when the patients came in, they had strokes or traumatic brain injury or spinal cord injury. When the patients came in, you could bet your bottom dollar that the patients that rehabbed the fastest and returned back to life the best were the manual laborers, the butchers, the sanitation workers, the construction workers. They bounced out of our ward like you wouldn't believe it. The people who unfortunately had very long stays on the ward and when they left were not near where they were before they had their illness were the executives, the white collar jobs, sitting in the office. Those people had very poor recovery trajectories. That is to say, it was an ascientific observation of what manual and physical challenge and impact can have on your health. So I say to people, cardio is great. By the way, it's wonderful. You got to have cardio in your life. No question about it. But we have a bad obsession with thinking that cardio is the end-all be-all. It is not. Resistance training, where you are increasing your muscle mass, is important for your stability, not falling, your balance.
And you say that this exponentially grows as you grow older. You need to do more and more muscle building as you grow older. Is that correct?
Yes, because as we age, the natural part of aging is called muscle atrophy. It's just normal to everybody. And unless you challenge your muscles through exercise, your muscles are just going to disappear. And it's true. So when you see older people and have these very thin limbs and, they're very weak, that's because they have not challenged their muscles. That doesn't mean, however, muscles just don't disappear from your body. It just means they get smaller. You can grow those muscles back. It's a process called hypertrophy. And that is why in Eat Your Age, one of the things I recommend for people in their 50s and their 60s plus is they have to increase, if they haven't started, their resistance training, either with bands or with free weights or machines.
But you also have recipes. Can you speak about that? How important it is to you, what you eat and how your family eats, and the fact that your whole family likes to be in the kitchen and together and around food.
Yes. Let me start with the nutrients. So chapter 3 is where I break it down by decade. So Rach, you and I are in our 50s. So antioxidants, calcium, fiber, monounsaturated fats, omega-3s, protein, vitamins B9, B12, C, and D. Those are at our decade, those are our top 10 nutrients. And the idea is to take these top 10 nutrients and to incorporate them into your daily meal plan. The way I do it for you as an example is at the end of the chapter, your 50s, I have created a 30-day meal plan for you. If you follow the meal plan, you are going to be getting lots of these important nutrients. Now, cooking is important, so much so to me that I created the Eat Your Age official recipe book. So this is the thin little recipe book.
That's right here. I got it.
You got it. Here's a funny story, right? So someone online said, well, you have no pictures in that book. My answer to them was, my name is Dr. Ian, not Rachel Ray, okay?
Well, thank you, friend.
I said to them, if you want a beautiful cookbook, Rachel Ray has 30 of them. I said, the Eat Your Age official recipe book is just recipes. It's a recipe book, not a cookbook. The idea is, how do you make foods that are what I call TASH, T-A-S-H, tasty, affordable, simple, and healthy. So all of these recipes are accessible to everybody.
Excuse me, I'm stopping you there and giving you a round of applause.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Let me smell my roses. Thank you. Thank you.
So, Ian, also let me ask you, if you could challenge readers to do something to bring this book or your recipes or your advice to life, what would that be?
I would like to set up a situation where I challenge people from the different decades of their life to take the top 10 nutrients that are in their decade, to take a certain number of ingredients and make your own recipe, by the way. Everyone gets to make something that incorporates these foods that will mean you'll have all these nutrients, and let's see what you produce for your 30s, for your 50s, for your 60s, right? It'd be a fun game type competition. Not a you win, you lose, but a challenge to say, hey, I bet you could create some really tasty, affordable, and simple foods if you incorporated these nutrients, and you're going to beat your age while doing it because you're going to be eating your age.
Well, let me tell you, if you ever do that, I'm here for you. I got your back. And I would love to have on any of your friends that take the challenge. Perfect. I love that, doctor.
I'll take you up on it.
I can't even stand calling you doctor. You're just my friend.
I know.
I know that you've never had a cocktail in your entire life, and your wife rarely has one, but you told me that she did a couple weeks ago on a vacation or something.
I was shocked.
So with no caffeine and no cocktails your whole life, what do you do to de-stress? Like, what does the Dr. Ian do when he just wants to chillax?
Okay, first of all, working out to me is like a tonic. It is medication.
It is. And it does bring up all those levels in your body, right?
That's right. Endorphins, your body's natural happy chemicals. When I go to a gym, I have my headphones on. It's not a social hour for me. It is me to go in with my music and to really put my muscle and my limbs through the paces. I feel good. My happy chemicals are releasing in my body. I never more than an hour, by the way, in the gym. You don't need more than an hour. But that hour or less that I'm in the gym really sets my day. I work out very early in the morning. You know, I'm like you, Rach. I'm a very early morning person. I'm early no matter what. But the beauty is that when I start my day that way, I'm charged. I literally leave the gym. I'm in a great mood. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to work, whatever it is. So that's one thing I do. The other thing is writing for me. And I've been here with you and John here in Tuscany, and I'm a computer guy. I'm a very fast typist. John and I'd like to start with our computer, but writing to me is therapeutic. I love to lose myself in a story. I love to lose myself in research. I feel good.
Or recipes. You write recipes too?
Yes, creating great foods that I can imagine what they taste like and then get a chance to try them with my younger son who likes to cook a lot.
Isn't that great? Talk about that. How you got your kids to love food so much.
Well, I got to tell you, I got to give credit to my wife. I'm going to be honest, since you said be honest in this show. I'm probably the worst eater in my house. Okay.
That's
this
true.
Is the truth.
I've known you a long time. I know this to be true. But mostly back in the day, you're a very free eater.
Yes.
And you ate mushrooms today for the first time, maybe ever.
Yeah. Oh, I've had them before, but I don't eat them like that. But listen to this. My wife would feed my kids just vegetables. That's it. We didn't have any processed
Well, she's a vegetarian,
foods.
baby.
Yes. And it was vegetables. And my kids, we would go to parties and my kid would not eat the cupcakes. He would eat the apples. And other parents were like, what is going on here? But his first take was, I want raw vegetables and fruits. That is what I think parents have to do now. You have to, I'm not saying your kids are not going to eat processed foods. Geez, we're in America. They're going to eat processed foods. If you can get your kids to like and become accustomed to unprocessed foods, to natural raw foods, then when they do start eating all the junk that's going to happen,
it's a combination of all things. Yes.
It's about balance.
And if you let them understand where food comes from and let them eat fruit, they'll go to the fruit eventually because they love it and they just didn't know what it was. It's so important to make that connection as early as possible in any child's life, to just let them know, here's where food comes from. This is called dirt. This is called a cucumber. This is called a zucchini. They're two different things. This is a melon. This is a squash. They're two different things. Just to make kids aware, it makes them excited because it's a little mystery. It's fun to understand where food comes from. Do you agree with that?
I was getting emotional hearing you say that because it's true. I can imagine some people listening to us saying, where does it come from? Duh, dirt, duh. But what people don't understand is that there is a large swath of our population, particularly of kids, who have never seen some of these fruits and vegetables in their life. And they have no idea, in some of the cities in particular, where this stuff is coming from. That it comes from trees, it comes out of the ground. They don't know this basic information. And I have always believed, which is why my career has been what it is, if you can break things down for people, if you can distill this scientific information and make it digestible,
exactly.
That's right, that people will say, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, wow. And it's like that last, when you're putting a light bulb in and it's that last turn in which the light bulb shows up. That's the moment that I try to get with people.
You get excited.
You get excited.
I get excited.
100%.
I'm 55. I get excited if the light bulb turns on.
That's exactly right. And so what I try to do all the time in my work, my public work, is I try to get those light bulb moments for people. The book, the recipe book, the Eat Your Age official recipe book, I built those recipes for families so that families together can go into the kitchen and the kids can have fun helping to cook, grating the cheese, whatever it is, and learn.
Isn't that important to put your hands on it for children when they have ownership of it, when they can touch it, when they can be a part of making dinner? Don't kick your kids out of the kitchen because they make a mess, right? Bring them in there. Bring them in there.
Let them make a mess. Let me tell you something. My 15-year-old kid, and I think about when I was 15, by the way, at 15, I was making mayonnaise sandwiches. Okay, that's all I could make. We had no money. We had 2 slices of bread and mayonnaise, and we were happy. My 15-year-old kid said to me the other day, Dad, what are you doing? I said, I'm getting ready to make dinner. He said, Dad, I already got dinner started. Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
Wow. Like, holy cow. Like, who is this human being?
That's your baby.
I don't say that to boast about my family. I say that to say to other parents and grandparents, bring your kids or grandkids into the kitchen
and let them be a part of it.
And they're going to make a mess. It's okay. Let them make the mess. You just have to be tolerant. But what you will do for them. Now, my kids, when they go to college, my kids will go to college being able to cook anything they want from scratch whenever they want, know how to source ingredients and all of that, versus me in college, which was Domino's Pizza.
But it's the truth. And I've always said this. It makes you feel secure in the same way a lock on your door is. If you can provide for yourself and you know that you can. If you know how to make just simple things with not a lot of money as a young person, you feel safe. I say this from personal experience. As safe as triple locks on the door. I felt okay when I was young because I knew I don't have money. I only have a 2-room apartment. I live in Queens. I have roaches. I have things going on, but I know I won't be hungry. I can go to the store with just a few dollars and I can buy beans and carrot, celery, onion, and I can make broth. I can make soup. I can survive. I will be okay because it gives you independence. Do you agree with this?
Oh my goodness. Let me tell you something. I think that one of the best gifts a parent can give a child is independence. And that doesn't mean kicking your kid out the house at a young age. What I'm saying is that instilling in your child knowledge and skills that when they go out into what sometimes is a very harsh and cruel world, we all know, when they go out into that world, that they have security, that there are things that they can do, that they know how to do, that they learned at your knee how to take care of themselves. And therefore, they are not panicked when they face challenge. They have muscle reflex. Oh, no problem. I'm problem solving. I know how to figure this out. That, as a parent, I truly believe this. That's one of the most important things that I've instilled in my kids. And I've told them this. I said, guys, you are leaving my house and your mother's house at a certain period point in your life. My job as your dad and mom's job is to make sure when you leave here that you guys have the best skills possible to be able to make it. Because, Rach, it's a tough world. You and I both, my grandfather used to say, I grew up on the other side of the mountain. Okay. So we know we're on this side.
So did my grandpa.
Yeah. So we know what that's like. I was a tough kid. I was a tough kid, let me tell you. And you were a tough kid. But I want my kids not just to be tough. I want them to be resourceful and to be great problem solvers and to think, by the way. I want my kids to be able to think.
I love that. I love that you said that. Problem solvers. I call this show what I do because I don't think you should sleep until you're dead. I think any day you open your eyes, there can be a challenge in that day. No matter what your age or what your physical condition, every day that you open your eyes can be a challenge. Can you speak to that?
In the book, on chapter 6, this is one of my favorite chapters. It's your top 7 physical fitness test. And the purpose of this chapter is to say, okay, let's take stock of where we are in life. These tests are not to demean you. They're not to depress you.
It's to give you the information.
That's right. Let's see where we are. For example, the first one, which is one of my favorite, it's the single legs balance test. And the single leg balance test basically is you stand on one leg with your eye open and see how long you can stand. Then you close your eyes and see how long you can stand.
Totally different, right?
Right? And then what the book does is the book then says, okay, if you're a woman or a man, it breaks it down to your decade. This is how long you should be able to do it with your eyes open. This is how long you should do it with your eyes closed. And then depending on how long you're able to do it, it says, are you good? Do you need improvement? Fair? So it really gives you a breakdown of where you are.
It gives you a path.
That's right.
A path.
Because the idea is, once again, not to demean you or make you feel bad. The idea is to say, this is what we got to work on now, right? Because, see, I'm one of those guys where if you present me with a problem, I don't panic.
You and I speak about this a lot.
Yes.
Yep.
I say,
moving
okay,
forward.
Yes, that's right. Let me figure this out. Thank you for letting me know where I am. Now I'm going to figure out how to move forward. And so chapter 6 in Eat Your Age is all about people taking stock of where they are and how they can start moving forward.
And the only way forward, you and I say this all the time, is through. You have to understand this to get to that. If you woke up, God bless. Now go forward, right?
Let me tell you something. One of my favorite I'm an athlete, a sportsman. One of my favorite quotes is from Charles Barkley. Charles Barkley was a very rugged basketball player, very physical. So Charles Barkley was in an interview and the reporter was asking him about how tenacious and determined he was to get to the basket. And his quote was, I will go around you. I will go over you. I will go through you, but I'm going to get to the basket. And I just thought, to this day, it's just such a great quote about how you have to go towards your goals. No matter what's in front of you, you got to go through it and get there.
How do you guys celebrate as a family and not go crazy? I think a lot of families struggle with this. Around like Hanukkah and Christmas, everybody eats everything sweet. They eat too much food. They overeat. Everybody goes into excess. How do you guys as a family deal with that? And how do you deal with that?
Holidays have always been critical to me as a young boy. We didn't have a lot of money, but my favorite time of the year was the holiday time because we all could get together. And yes, it was a time where everyone pinched their pennies together and could have more food, but it wasn't that, Rach. It was the idea that we could be together and that we could share traditions and talk about memories and make new memories. And so holidays in my house are sacred. They are very important. They need to be positive. They need to be reflective. We always talk about our gratitude for what we have. We talk and pray for those who are not as blessed as we are. And of course, like every other family, we enjoy food, okay? But one thing we don't do is overindulge. First of all, give me a reason why we don't indulge. I love leftovers, okay? Sometimes, to me, it's the truth.
Yay!
Sometimes, I swear to you, leftovers sometimes are better than
the first.
Yes, I say this all the time. People think I'm crazy. And my wife will say to me, this is so funny. My wife said, Ian, what are you eating tonight? I said, oh, I got some dinner. She goes, Ian, that was 2 nights ago. I said, so I'm going to warm it up. I love
wonderful.
Leftovers.
It gets only better.
It gets better. And you can doctor it up and add some new stuff to it. Anyway, so for holidays, we don't overindulge. I do one thing during the holidays. I bake my world famous, as I call it in quotes, my sweet potato pie. I make the sweet potato pies. That's my favorite. My aunt used to make it for me when I was a kid. So I make a sweet potato pie. Everyone has a dish or 2 dishes, and we enjoy it, Rach, but we don't sit there and eat.
And gorge, right?
And gorge all day long. I think that people have to understand that when you're getting together for the holidays, it's not just about the food. It's about the preparation of the food. It's fun preparing together, but it's also about the spirit.
Right.
And talking. It's the spirit. No phones at the table. There are no phones at my table. That's a rule because we're talking, we're engaging, we're creating memories. So as we get older, and unfortunately, some of my family members have left us, we have great memories, rich memories of remember this Christmas,
and it's
remember
wonderful to talk about them. It's not a sad thing to talk about people that have passed.
That's right.
It's not a sad thing to talk about dogs that have passed, as I can say.
Me too.
It's a beautiful thing to remember all of the creatures and humans that we love. It's a beautiful thing, and it's the right time of year to do that.
Rach, I'm going to tell you something. Life is not promised. Tomorrow's not promised to anyone. I'm a very spiritual person, and I believe that, as I was telling you at dinner the other night, I told my brother this about 10 years ago. Nothing and no one is bigger than life itself. Whether it's divorce, whether it's losing your job, whether it's an argument with someone, nothing is bigger than life itself. And so every time I get up in the morning, because everyone says, why are you such a good mood all the time in the morning? Every time I get up.
Because you woke up.
That's right. And I think that God has given me a chance to have another day, to enjoy another day. And I don't know how many more days I have left, but every day I try to squeeze the most out of life. I'm very productive. I like to be busy. Everyone says slow down, but I'm not stressed. I'm just productive. I like to do stuff. I like to explore. I like to try new things. I love my family and friends. I love my followers. So I love the title of this podcast too, by the way.
Because we'll sleep when we're dead.
And you know what? My mother is 80 years old now. Okay, I can say that. But my mother will call me up and say, this isn't right, that isn't right. You know, I say to her, I come from a small town in Connecticut. I say, Ma, do me a favor. She says, what, Ian? I said, get into the car, drive by Worcester Cemetery. Just drive by it. I said, because take a look over there. All those people would give anything to have the problems that you're complaining about.
That's right.
For one more day. I mean, it sounds macabre, but it's true. And I want to say this. You asked me about kind of what's my motivation, kind of how I do all this stuff. My reward for the work that I do is to see other people be happy, to see other people to be lifted. All the years I've been on TV trying, I don't denigrate people. I don't talk people down. I've tried to impact people's lives, whether it's helping them eat better, move better, understanding what diabetes is, what high blood pressure is. And on the show, we did all kinds of segments.
Or just their enjoyment as a novelist also.
Yes, I try that also. But you know, I don't want to embarrass somebody, but, you know, one of our producers who you and I both love was trying to get pregnant for the longest. And I had kids and I wanted her and she wanted to have babies so badly. And I would talk to her and say, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. We would pray. We would talk. She'd be disappointed. And it happened.
It did.
It happened.
I know it did.
Right? And let me tell you something.
Because I buy those babies gifts.
And I'll tell you right now, I felt like I was the parent. That's how excited I was. I had the same level of excitement.
I know. It's a beautiful thing when we care about each other and when we get up every day and want to do something better. The world becomes this big. It's so much larger than it was yesterday. Everything becomes enormous and huge and beautiful immediately. Right?
I get chills thinking about how wonderful it is to see somebody else happy. It sounds simple and it sounds cliche, but if more people in the world had more consideration for other people's happiness, like I'm doing okay, but I want you to do okay too. Instead of saying, well, all I care about is that I'm fine, my family's fine. No, I'm doing well. I want you to do well because guess what? We can all do well together. Your doing well does not take away me doing well.
That's right.
I'm telling you right now, for those who are doubters, who think that the best way for themselves to be happy is for a big house or a European car, those things give you what I call ephemeral happiness. It's transient, but real deep ache in your bones.
Transient.
That's
Perfect
right.
Word.
That real deep ache in your bones kind of happiness comes when you are doing something for someone else. When you see other people succeed, that makes you feel good forever. And as you say, we are in a place, we've had such division. I love people. I love the planet. I want to have however many years I have here. I want to have the best time I can have. But more importantly, I want to make sure those behind me can enjoy their lives as much as they can and to take the most advantage of the world that we have.
Michael Strahan is Ian's bestie and oldie-timey roommate. And my husband is definitely shorter than Michael Strahan and Dr. Ian.
He's a better guitarist, though, and a better musician.
But he's an amazing musician, and he wants to be a great golfer. My dream is that the boys that I love the most, I love Stray. I love him, and he's been through so much. Talk about positive thinking. What Stray's been through with his daughter, of course. Talk about a man who understands, just like you do, Ian, working around the clock. I see why you guys are friends for so long. They have so much in common. They both work around the clock, and they both believe, sleep when you're dead. And they both believe life is always more possible tomorrow and anything is possible. Stray knows that with his daughter and with his life. And certainly I've known his mom and daddy too for a long time and his pop before he passed. But I consider you guys family. And it is my dream that one day the three of you will play golf together here in Italy.
Rich, it's done. And before we go, I want to tell a quick Stray story that most people probably don't know. I don't talk about this very often publicly, but I am today. Stray was going through a really bad divorce. Very bad. Very ugly. Front page of the newspapers for weeks and weeks. He was living in my little one-bedroom apartment, sleeping on my couch with his legs hanging over the edge. It just couldn't get any worse for him. Here he was, this celebrated New York City football star, and it felt like the world just collapsed on him all at once, by the way. And people who he thought were his friends, they didn't call. And we spent weeks and weeks in my little tiny apartment, running out of the back of the apartment building because the paparazzi, they were parked out the front. So we'd run out the back to get outside to leave the apartment. But we spent weeks and weeks together. My message to him always was, sometimes to get to the light, you got to get through the darkness. He just couldn't see it at first. He just felt like honestly, he thought his world was going to end. And I told him, I said, you have such charisma. You have such a good heart. You are not only going to make it through this, you are going to be bigger than when you were as an NFL football player. He couldn't see that, which I understand. I mean, you're down in the dumps. You couldn't see that. And he hung in there. And look at him now. He is
a smile as big as the sun.
That's right. Uber successful, doing great things, great family.
I love him with all my soul. You know that.
Yes, and he and I to this day look back to when we were living together in that one bedroom apartment and where our lives are now. And the reason I wanted to tell that story is I wanted the listeners to realize that even when you think that you can't make it through,
you can.
You have a reserve inside of you. There's a reserve inside of you that not even you maybe have used or tapped before that will let you make it through and push you through to get to the light. So you can never give up. Just never give up.
I am deeply grateful for you in my life. I know how important it is to my life that you've become a part of it, but you are so kind, generous, thoughtful. I only wish huge future success and that everyone gets to see and read and hear more of your advice because it makes our lives better and easier. And I love the fact that you make it digestible. Thank you, my friend, for doing this for us.
Rachel, I love you very much. Thank you for all these great years, many more years to come. And for those listening, I try to make myself as accessible as possible. You can always send me a message on Instagram at Dr. Ian Smith. Spell the doctor out, I-A-N Smith. If you have questions, if I can help you in some way, please reach out to me. Give me a little time because I get a lot of messages, but I answer them myself.
He does.
Because I like to make myself available.
Does.
So send me a message. Rach, this is awesome. Thank you for this. And thank you for this wonderful experience and this beautiful, magical part of the world that I hope.
Can I invite you back? You have to do the cooking show too, because I know you're a great cook and you can show people healthy shortcuts to healthy food. So would you like to come back soon?
Well, I'm not a great cook. I'm a basic cook, but I can work my way around the kitchen under your tutelage and I will be back. There's no question about it.
Okay. All right. Well, you are invited officially. I love you.
I love you.
I'm Rachel Ray, and this is I'll Sleep When I'm Dead. Keep up to date with this podcast across all social media platforms at Rachel Ray and at rachelray.com. I'll Sleep When I'm Dead is produced by Joanna Jojo Paredes, Tommy T.C. Crudup, Andrew Cappy Kaplan, me, Rach, and special shout out to my husband, John, the Kuz Kuzumano, who provides not only the music for our show, but he's been my wingman pretty much every episode of this podcast, and I'm using his studio for it. Thank you, honey. Also, we have editing help from Joel Yetten. Subscribe to this podcast on your listening site of choice, and thank you for listening to I'll Sleep When I'm Dead.